Apple Vision Pro was just announced, and if you've been living under a rock, it's about to change everything. This is a mixed reality headset, unlike anything we've ever seen, frankly, also with a price that we've never really seen. Coming in at $3,500, it has a lot of promises. By all accounts, Apple Vision Pro is premium. It's premium in its build design, it's premium in its offering. It's really gonna take AR, VR, mix, whatever that is, to the next level. Some say that this tech will replace your TV, your computer, your phone. However, will it replace your board games? That's obviously what I'm interested in. I love board games. I love the experience of board games, but there's some big pros. Maybe there's some cons as well. AR board games technically already exist. With Tilt 5's AR glasses, games such as Catan are already there. But the problem there is they can't get the traction in order to bring the devs in to create all of our favorite board games. But what better person than Apple to come into the space, wield their might, create a form factor that so many people love? In my mind, that's the impetus to get the developers and the board game publishers together to be able to get their product into the virtual world at scale. And if they did, many of the barriers to entry on some of our most beloved yet complex games could evaporate immediately and be a huge boon. Let me explain. The idea of setting up some of our favorite games can be absolutely daunting. Sometimes I think, I just really want to play a game, but I don't want to set it up. So what do? I keep doom scrolling on Twitter or watching somebody else play a game on YouTube, when a much better thing would be for me to get the game on the table, call my wife over or my kids and play a game. In an AR environment, that's gone. The game is immediately set up. The game is immediately tore down. You don't have to fumble with little plastic bags for your bits and pieces. That's all done. How many more board games would you play if you didn't have to set them up? Would you play right this second if you didn't have to set them up? If I could play Too Many Bones without having to set up the entire encounter, and I can have it read to me and have me immediately be in the game, making choices on encounters and jumping right into the fun part, would I get it to the table a little bit more? Of course I would. Gone are the days me having to read the rule book, come up with a strategy on how the heck I'm going to teach this thing to my wife without her falling asleep. Now we just open the application. An avatar is going to walk in the room, teach us the game face to face, and then walk us through our first turn. I won't have to crack a rule book. I won't have to watch a YouTube video. I won't have to prepare at all. We'll be right in to the fun. With the prospect of you not having to learn a new game, get you into the games more, look on your shelf right this second. There might just be a game that's still in shrink that you really love the idea of, but you haven't gotten to the table yet. Why haven't you? Is it because you haven't even cracked the rule book yet? The thought of going through a Lacerda rule book has you cowering in the corner? Doesn't matter. You can have Lacerda's avatar himself come into the room and teach you his game. How cool would that be? I mean, just behind me, I have On Mars in shrink right this second. I love the idea of On Mars. I dread the idea of teaching my wife On Mars. And I don't know about you, I spend a lot of time reading rule books and watching gameplay videos in order to be able to get a game to the table. All of those hours are given back to me and I can play games with them. Now, isn't that the point of the hobby? Player count requirements are a thing of the past. I remember getting into the hobby and searching 2-player games because my gaming group was either my kids or just my wife. And if I wanted to play anything complex, it was just my wife. We could only play at 2-player count. I found it really hard to find games that worked well at 2 players. Early on in my board game career, I fell in love with the idea of Root. I got it. I got many of the expansions. I was really excited. I taught my oldest daughter and my wife and my son a little bit of the game, and I might have gotten a couple games in, but at the end of the day, my gaming group just didn't like the game. But what if I had avatar friends or even friends around the internet that could come and sit in my game room and play some of my favorite games with me? Wouldn't that be great? Gone are the days of me having to twist my wife's arm to play a game of Root. What are the games out there that you love that nobody can play with you? Side note, if you're in the Seattle area, hit me up. I'd be happy to play some of these cool games. I'm kind of stuck to Euros and cute stuff with my wife. I'd love to get into some other cool stuff. Just as a side, imagine using Jedi hand gestures to manipulate your board. I mean, how cool would that be? Now, those are all the reasons that I can think of right this second as to why Apple Vision Pro or just VR and AR in general will change board gaming for good. There might be a couple things in there about real life games that I'm gonna miss a little bit. The feeling of game pieces in your hand are going to be a thing of the past. I can't imagine playing Too Many Bones digitally, because part of the experience with Too Many Bones are these beautiful weighted chips, or the chucking of dice, which many games have. That tactile feeling of the game bits in hand are gone. And I don't know about you, but one of the things that kind of got me into the game is this idea of premium components. Really, the gateway game for me was Wingspan. And up until that point, I had never played a game that had such high quality components. I hadn't played mini games, frankly, but I didn't know that this idea of premium componentry was a thing in board gaming. So when I opened up Wingspan and I saw the unbelievable art on the thick cardstock, and I saw the cute little wooden eggs and the premium card tray, I was astounded that this was out there. Immediately, literally that day after I played Wingspan, I started to look at Everdell. I think I ordered immediately, and that just kind of kept compounding and compounding, and now my whole house is run out of space for games, and my wife makes me sell them. But the point is, the componentry is one of those things that are going to keep me coming back. I absolutely love premium editions, deluxe editions. I am an absolute sucker on Kickstarter. I know I can get many of these games immediately, but if I don't have that premium edition, I'm really going to kick myself. And maybe that's a good thing. I certainly could save a lot of money once I pay for the cost of the headset, but it probably will, frankly, if I were to be honest and add up all of the games I have. It'd probably be a savings by spending $3,500 on a headset. Although there is the cost of the game as well, so we'll keep that in mind. And call me weird, and comment below if you feel the same way. I kind of like cracking that rule book. It's become a ritual for me. First thing I do is I open up the box and I grab that rule book and I go sit down on the couch with some coffee and I start to thumb through it. I'll spend the night while my wife's watching TV just reading through the book and getting excited about the game. As I'm reading the rule book and getting ready to play the game, it's actually creating a feeling of anticipation for me. I start to get more and more excited about that game. And that may be a point that I'd like to make real quick, is dopamine is at its highest right before you get the reward. So if you're immediately given the reward over and over, hence scrolling through TikTok, that dopamine, or the quality of the dopamine hit, becomes lower and lower, and you have to scroll more and more and more. However, when you actually have to pay for your dopamine with effort, it feels so much better. And I don't know about you, but that feeling getting done with a game that I had invested in, I might have researched it a year ago and backed it on Kickstarter and patiently waited for it to arrive on my doorstep, and then I get to open it and read the rule book. I really get to understand the love that the designer put into the game. I get to understand the nuance of mechanics, and I think if I had an AR bot or an avatar teach me that would be lost. I think the appreciation for the art form might be lost. And the last thing that I think is probably the most obvious, and is commentary that many people are giving about Apple Vision Pro. The loss of shared experience with each other is something that really can't be measured. Now, Apple Vision Pro is giving you this idea of connectivity while disconnected by allowing pass-through. You can see other people in the room. You get these funny looking digital eyes on the front of it so other people know that you can see them. That's not interaction. And if I sat around a table and played board games with people with those on, that's one thing. I'd feel really dumb, but it still wouldn't be the same as being in the same room, looking at each other eye to eye, battling against each other, having that shared experience. I think there's something to say for that. I'm an introvert by nature, and Apple Vision Pro is really my dream product. It's made for me. It's made for somebody that doesn't necessarily get life from being around a lot of people. Hence, that's probably why my game group is pretty small. However, when I found Boardgames and my wife and I started playing them together, it strengthened our relationship. As cheesy as it sounds, it got us off of our phones and sitting at a table next to each other, having a shared experience, battling against each other, which was fun. And sometimes, it's sometimes we get a little chippy when the game isn't going in our favor, but the net of it is that it strengthened our relationship. I also do everything I can to try to get my kids to the table to play board games. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say this has been an overwhelming success, but we have had moments as a family together, and I continue to chase those moments and try to find the perfect board game that will bring us all together. But we've had those moments of shared experience that are really fleeting nowadays. And I'm not a boomer. I love video games and I love, digital content. I watch YouTube, which is why I make videos now. I watch it way too much. But at the end of the day, there's something special when we sat around the table together and had that experience, looked at each other in the eyes. So if board games went the way of the dinosaur and were replaced by AR versions via Apple Vision Pro or whatever the AR, VR headset that you happen to get, I think I'd be really sad about it. Suffice it to say, Apple Vision Pro or just the AR technology in general are going to make board games more accessible to people. They're going to make them easier, more pleasant to play. It may actually allow you to get more board games to the table. And that's why we're in it. We're in it to play. But I don't think it can totally replace the experience that I fell in love with when I fell in love with this hobby. So I'm going to continue to evangelize for real world, tactile experiences, looking at people face to face and battling wits, because that's what I fell in love with. So let me know what you think. Throw in the comments. What's your take on it? Is this going to replace board games? Is the hobby going to expand in a new AR connected world? Or is there going to be a committed group of us that just will not let it die and want to sit at a table and look at each other eye to eye and feel the beautiful componentry? And I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here. But I'm going to keep sitting at the table playing board games for now. I'm out.